let's unpack this. We are diving deep into what is, arguably the most polarizing fight announcement in recent history, Judgment Day.
Right.
We're talking Anthony Joshua, the former two-time unified heavyweight champ, Olympic gold medalist, squaring off against the social media phenomenon, Jake Paul.
It sounds like a circus headline. It really does. But the sources we've gathered confirm this is a tightly structured business maneuver. It's disguised as a chaotic prize fight.
Disguised, yeah.
It's a textbook example of modern combat sports, leveraging competitive risk for maximum corporate payoff.
Exactly. And our mission today is to cut through all the noise, the intense criticism, the social media chatter, all the talk of fixes and mismatches, to really figure out the core facts, the strategic dynamics that force this highly improbable bout into existence.
What are the stakes and who truly benefits? That's the question.
It's the one.
We could start with the structure, I think, because it really sets the entire scene. This match is officially scheduled for December 19th, 2025. It's at the Kaseya Center in Miami. And crucially, it's going to be broadcast live and globally on Netflix.
Which is a huge deal for them.
It cements their commitment to combat sports.
Yeah.
And let's be really clear here. This is not an exhibition. It is a fully sanctioned professional heavyweight contest.
Right.
8 rounds, 3 minutes each, using standard 10-ounce gloves.
A sanctioned heavyweight contest between two men from, completely different competitive universes, yet they're sharing this massive corporate stage.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start at the beginning. Why, out of all the possible matchups, is this fight happening now?
It's a perfect storm. It's really driven by necessity on both sides.
Okay.
So look at Anthony Joshua. He was coming off a devastating 5th-round knockout loss to Daniel Dubois back in September 2024.
A brutal loss.
And that was followed by elbow surgery. His promoter, Eddie Hearn, he went on record saying AJ needed a strategic, high-profile run-out fight just to rebuild momentum and get him back in front of a global audience.
So that positions Jake Paul as basically a massively paid tune-up opportunity, which is, you have to say, quite the insult to Paul's ambition.
It is, yeah.
Right.
But Paul wasn't just sitting around waiting for the phone to ring, was he?
No, he wasn't.
No. His team, Most Valuable Promotions, or MVP, they had to execute this really rapid, high-stakes pivot. Paul was originally slated to face lightweight champion Gervonta Davis.
Gervonta Davis, right.
But that fight was just abruptly canceled. Davis got embroiled in a really serious civil lawsuit. We're talking battery and kidnapping charges. It completely sank the card just weeks before the date.
So Paul suddenly had an open calendar, a massive training camp already underway, and this huge obligation to fill with Netflix.
Exactly.
Which created the perfect frantic window for Hearn and MVP to connect.
And the financial appeal that came out of that is, it's almost impossible to overstate. They're expecting to draw 50 million or more viewers globally.
50 million.
Yeah. It guarantees massive revenue for Netflix and, of course, huge earnings for both men. But here's the nugget that really caught our attention in the source material.
What's that?
Anthony Joshua, who's had record-breaking paydays before, right? He noted that this fight would not be the highest payday of his career.
Wait, hold on. If AJ is the undisputed star, the Olympic gold medalist, the main draw, why wouldn't this be his biggest payday? That just seems illogical given the global platform.
It does, but it's because the fight is structured primarily for corporate scale, not for, individual fighter profit maximization.
Oh, I see.
Netflix is paying a massive guarantee to secure the spectacle. But their real goal isn't just to pay AJ. They're establishing themselves as a destination for combat sports, minimizing subscriber churn.
And setting a precedent.
And setting the precedent that they can host these mega events. The value for Netflix is in the event itself, the platform, making AJ's guarantee substantial, but maybe capped.
I see your point. So the real money isn't necessarily in the fighter's purse, it's in what this event does for a multi-billion-dollar streaming service.
Precisely.
But money can't buy legacy, can it? And that takes us right back to the controversy. The second this fight was announced, the criticism focused on one thing: the massive talent disparity.
It's a profound mismatch. On one side, you have AJ, 28 wins, 25 KOs, a 2-time unified world champion. He's an elite top-tier heavyweight trying to regain his position.
Then on the other, you have Jake Paul, 12-1, 7 KOs, whose career is, let's be honest, defined by fighting non-traditional boxers. Or men who are decades past their prime, like a 58-year-old Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
It feels like putting a college football star up against an NFL MVP.
And the reaction from the boxing world reflects that gulf. The pundits were brutal. They called it a circus act, a joke. And Frank Warren, a heavyweight promoter himself, he labeled it as having car crash potential because of the danger.
He's not wrong.
They argue these matchups just fundamentally undermine the credibility of professional boxing.
You know, I wonder if the critics miss the point that, while it's a competitive joke, it's a financial blockbuster. But even AJ's supporters seem wary, and that's where the legacy pressure comes in, right? Driven by that Derek Chisora warning.
That's the highest of stakes ultimatum.
Yeah.
Chisora, a veteran heavyweight, he did not mince words. He demanded that AJ must finish Paul within 3 rounds.
3 rounds? That is so specific and just brutally demanding.
It is. Chisora warned that if AJ goes beyond 3 rounds, it doesn't matter if he wins by decision or a late knockout, it would raise serious questions about AJ's current form. It would significantly damage his legacy.
Or losing.
Oh, losing would be catastrophic.
Like it would haunt his career forever. That 3-round marker is the bar the boxing community has now set for AJ's redemption.
So if AJ goes into the 4th round, he technically wins the fight but loses the cultural war. It becomes a failure of dominance.
Huge failure.
And AJ, for his part, he seems to accept this pressure. He stated his intention is to seek and destroy, to get that knockout. He knows anything less just won't satisfy the fans or the critics. That kind of pressure. It inevitably leads to rumors, right? If the mismatch is so extreme and the financial stakes are so high, rumors of a fixed or scripted fight just emerged immediately, and they've been persistent.
That's the skepticism that comes with crossover boxing. People just assume the financial structure must include protections against humiliation. Is there any substance to the idea that AJ is contractually obligated to carry Paul for a few rounds to make it entertaining?
Absolutely not, at least according to the stakeholders. Eddie Hearn vehemently denied any script. He stressed that this is a legally sanctioned fight where millions are bet globally. He pointed out fixing it would be completely illegal, a massive crime.
And his promise.
He promised AJ would knock him spark out.
And AJ backed that up. He denied any clause requiring him to take it easy. He even threw a little jab, noting Paul chose the heavier 10-ounce glove, suggesting Paul wants to hurt me.
Right. They have to maintain that facade of professional integrity. But here's where we move from scripted rumors to structured reality. While the outcome isn't fixed, the contract is highly structured to mitigate competitive risk for Jake Paul. And that brings us to the most fascinating part, the weigh-in stipulation.
Okay, let's drill down on this weight limit, because this is where the business side actively alters the athletic contest. Physically, AJ is 6'6", with a 6-inch reach advantage over Paul, who's 6'1". The size disparity is enormous.
Huge.
So what protection did Paul's team negotiate into the contract?
Anthonyjoshua is contractually limited to a maximum weigh-in weight of 245 pounds. That's 111 kilograms.
245.
Paul, meanwhile, is expected to weigh in closer to 225, maybe 230 pounds. This constraint, this 245-pound cap, was a deliberate asymmetric term that Paul's team secured in the negotiations.
At 245-pound limit for AJ, why is that number so significant?
Because AJ's weight in his previous fight, that devastating loss to Daniel Dubois, was 254 pounds.
Oh, wow.
His natural competitive weight has been increasing, so forcing a heavyweight of AJ's size and build to drop 9 pounds from his recent fighting weight is a serious physical constraint.
So it forces him to change his entire camp.
It forces him to increase cardio, it reduces the margin for error in his prep, and it likely impacts his natural power reserves.
So Paul's team effectively used their leverage, that massive guaranteed Netflix audience, to buy themselves a margin of safety. They forced the elite champion to compromise his natural physical strength.
That's it. They essentially reduced the force of the inevitable impact.
And Hearn admitted this.
He did. This is confirmed by Hearn himself. Our sources note Hearn admitted he had to engage in some promotional subterfuge during the negotiations, claiming AJ was hitting closer to 290 pounds, purely to finalize that 245-pound cap.
That's a huge revelation. The champion's own promoter had to mislead the opponent's team just to lock in a weight that would even allow the fight to happen.
It confirms everything.
It confirms Paul's team feared AJ at his natural heavier weight and made sure they negotiated a handicap.
It absolutely confirms the negotiation was heavily skewed toward managing Paul's competitive risk. Yet, AJ welcomed the limit. He called it a blessing in disguise, saying it forced him to focus on fitness and speed over sheer size.
He's putting a positive spin on a clear contractual disadvantage.
Has to.
So despite all this structuring, what's Paul's actual game plan? Is he delusional, or does he think he has a genuine path to victory against a compromised AJ?
He claims he has a strategic blueprint. He calls it his kryptonite theory. Paul has reportedly been studying AJ's losses, the Dubois, the Ruiz, the Usyk fights, and he claims AJ is vulnerable to faster, smaller opponents who can avoid his big punches.
A faster, smaller opponent who can avoid the power. That sounds a lot more like a description of the champion Usyk, not Jake Paul.
Exactly, but Paul is confident. He stated AJ is chinny but dangerous when he's hurt, and he says he sees holes where I can land big shots.
So the theory hinges on AJ's psychological reaction to getting hit.
Not on Paul's raw punching power, no. It's a mental game.
That takes extreme confidence. What about the training camps? Are both men preparing for a war, despite the obvious skill gap?
Oh, they're treating the process very seriously.
Yeah.
Paul has been sparring with high-level heavyweights, which he has to do to adjust to the speed and power.
And we have reports of that.
We do. We have reports that former British world champion Lawrence Oakley inflicted a visible black eye on Paul just 2 weeks before the fight. It shows the intensity of his preparation.
That detail about the black eye is significant. It shows Paul is getting hit by actual heavyweights, and the experience is clearly painful and, well, real.
Meanwhile, AJ has also been serious. He's joined forces with former undisputed champion Alexander Usyk's team, though Usyk himself won't be in the corner.
So he's focusing on technique.
Technical adjustments and conditioning at that 245-pound limit.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting for me. The corporate strategy that Paul's team engineered. Just recently, Paul sent social media into a complete frenzy. He posted this very vague, even alarming statement. It just said, "Major update. Had to be done, is what it is."
Yes, that was a masterclass in controlled panic. That post immediately sparked fears that Paul was pulling out of the fight.
Of course it did.
And it caused prediction market odds of the fight happening to just drop sharply from 91% down to 72% in a few hours. He successfully weaponized public anxiety and the fear of cancellation.
And then came the reveal. What was the major update that caused all that drama?
It was a pure business maneuver. He was utterly divorced from the fight's athletic reality. Paul mocked the dummies who thought he would pull out, and then he announced he had signed undefeated WBC lightweight champion Caroline Dubois to his most valuable promotions roster.
So he manufactured a global crisis, captured everyone's attention, and then used that massive platform to announce a corporate expansion. That is high-level strategic branding.
It absolutely is. He framed the signing as evening the odds, since AJ was training with Usyk. But the real significance is MVP's institutional growth.
This gives them credibility.
It gives MVP legitimate athletic credibility beyond Paul himself. And crucially, Dubois will now fight on the undercard against Camila Panata.
Maximizing exposure for their new asset on the massive Netflix platform.
Exactly. It's a clear move toward establishing MVP as a major promotional entity that can rival traditional powers, like Hearn's Matchroom, using Jake Paul as the initial high-voltage vehicle for promotion and funding.
So what does this all mean for you, the learner, watching this fight? We have a fully sanctioned, high-stakes boxing match on Netflix, which is structured by complex financial deals that imposed a weight restriction on the elite champion. It's all wrapped up in this promotional cycle designed to turn public fear into corporate branding.
The core tension remains. Is this a final chance for Anthony Joshua to deliver the demanded 3-round knockout and redeem his competitive legacy?
Or does this bout primarily represent the fully realized business model where promotional narrative and corporate expansion are more valuable than the actual athletic outcome? It seems like MVP has ensured that even if Paul gets knocked out in the 3rd round, the company still wins the long game. The crucial question you have to mull over while you watch Judgment Day is this. Paul's team negotiated a strategic weight limit, a